found wild about The Sims is it wasn't just a game, it was like a psychological experiment in like how people behave when they have control. So what makes this all so fascinating is a psychological concept called the God complex, where the ability to control a simulated world without consequence can trigger a kind of experimental cruelty. Will Wright, the game's creator, he originally designed The Sims as a way to test how people would design and interact with homes in a virtual space. But then during development, testers weren't focusing on the houses the way they thought they would. They were obsessed with controlling the people inside the houses. There's this theory called the locus of control. People feel more secure when they believe they have influence over their environment. Sims feeds directly into this. The entire game is made to make you feel like you can manipulate every aspect of life. You can pause time, you can manipulate wealth, you can also control social outcomes. Like when two characters want to fall in love, you just keep clicking the flirt button until the relationship happens. So this illusion of control triggers the dopamine response in our brains, and that's a chemical linked to reward and satisfaction. It's the same psychological trigger that makes social media so addictive, and that's what makes The Sims so hard to quit. But there's more to it than just control. The game was built on behaviorism principles. Have you ever wondered why the game rewards you for the most mundane things like making your sim brush their teeth or reading a book? So that's called operant conditioning, and it's a concept introduced by the psychologist B.F. Skinner. So his theory showed that people and animals repeat behaviors when they're rewarded for them. And The Sims literally gamified everyday life. And the thing is, like in real life, progress is slow and it's super uncertain, but in The Sims, it's immediate, it's predictable, and it's always rewarded. On top of this, it lets people experiment with power without consequences, and this is where things get pretty dark. The Sims removes moral consequences. Characters, while they're emotionally reactive, aren't real, so players feel free to experiment with absolute power, and people did, and people do. They lock Sims in basements to watch them starve. They remove pool ladders to let them drown. So even Will Wright admitted he noticed the pattern in early playtests. People weren't playing to create healthy lives for their Sims, they were more interested in pushing boundaries to see how far they could take their control. And The Sims reinforced like a consumerist fantasy. If you look closer, The Sims isn't just about control, it's also about materialism. The entire reward structure of the game is tied to purchasing power. Wealth equals happiness, progress equals consumption, yada yada yada. And when you consider that Sims became the best-selling PC game of its time, with more than 5 billion generated, largely from the expansion pack selling more virtual products, it becomes pretty clear that the entire game is a marketing masterclass, which is pretty fascinating. To me, that's why The Sims was more than just a game. It was a behavioral experiment. Every single version since the original release has doubled down on this formula because it works.
I get the God complex, like feeling like you're in charge. I feel like there's a lot of games like that though. You want to be able to create bigger spaces and decorate, but everything is really expensive and you don't make any money. The basement is just a very like, has all the basics for someone to survive in. I even put all the urns down there so all the ghosts are down there to talk to them, keep them company. So it's not so bad. I just remove the door so they can't leave, because when the Reaper comes to get them, and nobody can accidentally walk in, because they love to go searching for that sim whenever the Reaper comes around, and then they walk in when the Reaper's killing them. Probably the worst thing I've ever done in Sims was I got my sim pregnant on purpose to see if she would miscarry. They're needy. It's just like I'm trying to just build a house and you guys are over here peeing your pants and breaking the toilets. It gets really frustrating when every time you turn around and something's broken. They like can't figure shit out sometimes. I don't even know why they're peeing themselves in some cases. It's just like, go to the bathroom.